Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is going to be a great event here. This is Logan coming to you from Psychedelic Invest, and we have some great speakers talking to you today about launching and protecting your ketamine practice. But even though that sounds like we're talking about something very specific within this industry, as you know, we cover the entire psychedelics industry, and we have some really tangential topics around ketamine, around the business of ketamine, around how you can take ketamine. So without further ado, I'm going to ask the speakers to come join me on stage and turn on your videos so we can get going. Without further ado, take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Rahn, and I am with Ronin Associates Psy-Ins. We are an insurance brokerage firm specializing in hard-to-place, hard-to-find insurance within regulated and specialized industries like the psychedelic industry and cannabis industry and other industries as well, but primarily focusing on psychedelics. I'm joined today by two very well-experienced, very insightful individuals. First, we have Meg Papagelis with Aura Health, and we have Mark Holland with Choose Your Horizon. And we're here today to talk about the different risks, the different obstacles, and also the different stages and planning elements it takes to run a ketamine operation. So without further ado, Meg, why don't you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Papagelis. I am COO and co-founder of Aura Health, which will be launching this year. I'm originally from Boston. However, I spent a majority of my life between California and Florida. I was originally in the cannabis industry. However, I went into regenerative medicine and ketamine therapy. For the last 6 years, I've worked for multiple ketamine clinics, doing everything from marketing, screening patients for treatment, consultations, developing protocols. I've created educational material, whether it be video, blog, or social content to assist patients throughout their treatment. I've also held space for patients during their sessions, as well as in group sessions as well. I'm a major advocate for ketamine therapy because of how much it has personally changed my life. And that being said, in December, my business partner and I started developing Aura, which will be a telehealth ketamine service, as well as working with current ketamine clinics and other mental health offices to offer an alternative option to IV treatment. I'm so happy to be here with like-minded individuals, and I'll pass the torch to Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Meg. Thanks for coordinating, Dave. Nice to meet everybody. My name is Mark Holland, CEO of Choose Your Horizon. Got into Choose Your Horizon after spending 20 years in preventative health in the US, originally from Ireland. And we kind of evolved into this space through the area of chronic disease prevention, mitigation, and when the ability kind of arose to deliver ketamine therapy through telehealth, that was kind of our kind of first foray into this space. But yeah, we've learned a lot. We provide services across 20 US states today. We've serviced over 10,000 at-home ketamine therapy sessions over the last 3 years, and our whole view on the space, or kind of safety protocols or dosing, we've learned a lot about how to optimize treatments at scale. So excited to be here.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really just going to put this question out to both of you. What's it like either, working or operating a ketamine practice, both, in clinic and at home? And where do you see the industry going, as far as, making it easier to enter into the marketplace through this industry? What sort of requirements you had to go to, what sort of the expenses you had to endure, both financially and, just operationally, compliance wise, try to, Meg, what's it like, especially on the clinical side?
Yeah, of course. Well, in regards to in clinics, well, there was a lot of questions there. So which
Right.
Yeah, which
Well,
exactly do
I
you
want to
want to touch on?
say, let's say you are already an IV clinic and
Yeah.
you want to make that pivot into providing ketamine as one of your modalities.
Yeah, of course. Well, the importance really is working with local psychiatry offices and establishing referral relationships.
Okay.
This is patient-centered care, so all of the providers should be heavily involved in the treatment. It's not just patient and ketamine clinic, it's patient, ketamine clinic, psychiatrist, primary care, transpersonal coach, entheogenic medicine coach, integration coach. It's a whole group surrounding the patient. Emphasizing clinic. The patient is purely there to do a treatment, and then a lot of what ketamine therapy is that outside work and the support given to them by their other providers. So, yeah.
And usually, on average, how many visits or how many doses does a patient have to go through to complete treatment?
Yeah, of course. So every ketamine clinic in the United States is different, but the foundation really is 6 treatments over a course of 3 or 4 weeks. Initially, it'll be 2 treatments week 1, 2 treatments week 2, and then week 3 can be 2 treatments or broken up into week 3 and 4. After that, you go into maintenance infusions, or if you wanted to switch to at home, you can do that as well. And maintenance ranges per the patient. All of the patient's treatments following those initial 6 treatments are individualized. But generally, when a patient has never done ketamine before and they're going into a ketamine clinic, the dose is gradually increased with each of those treatments. So it'll start out by their body weight. Each time they come in, the dose will gradually be increased. So no patient is ever thrown into a psychedelic experience on their first day. It is mainly your toes in the water, and then each infusion peels off a layer. So it's very safe and comfortable at the discretion of the providers at the clinic and the patient.
Great.
Yeah.
Mark, especially from the at-home therapy side, what does the patient usually experience as far as, because there's a lot of interchange amongst different professionals that a patient has to see before taking that experience and having, clinical ketamine therapy. What's that like on the at-home perspective and modality?
Yeah, so it's highly nuanced. I mean, so obviously every patient has a provider-patient relationship with an individual provider who assesses everything from dosage to, the patient will obviously have an idea coming into the therapy as to, and even the incoming assumptions. The fact that the individual experience is so personal in this space. It's like the range of experience can vary so drastically between people. People come in with all sorts of different ideas as to what they are going to experience and what the effects and the outcomes. And so a lot of I suppose what the experience consists of is down to that patient-provider relationship. So we err on the side of caution in terms of, that we only provide enough medication for 1 or 2 experiences for the provider to be able to then calibrate, well, what does the next what do sessions 3 to 6 look like? So at every step, obviously with telehealth, you have to be overly cautious, given the fact that. So, and again, we've built a lot of these kind of safety mechanisms into our protocol, but all of our initial sessions are guided. So there's essentially a caregiver to do the integration sessions with the patient at home.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it's essentially dosage management, 1 to 2 sessions with a caregiver at home on Zoom. Peer has to be present in the home, and then the patient comes back to the provider to recalibrate the medication up or down.
Lovely. Especially this question is for both of you, because I'm sure it's a little bit more different and a little bit more nuanced on each side. Meg, especially on your side, there has to be there's somebody who is administering the ketamine via IV or an intramuscular infusion, or a lozenge. How many of those are actual professionals? Because Mark is on an entirely different end with the at-home, and I'm sure the different professionals in their licensures could be a little bit different.
Yeah, so in regards to administration in clinic, so the most qualified provider to administer, well, it's traditionally anesthetics. So a certified nurse anesthesiologist would be the administering provider ideally. And then supportive staff, integration specialists, you should be working in the clinics as well, but also can be utilized through video afterwards. But a medical provider and such as a CRNA should be administering ketamine.
Okay.
Yeah, via IV and IM.
And Mark, as far as the, if you could just give a little bit insight and a little bit of background of how dispensing, ketamine through a telehealth operation, how does that initially work? If you could just give a little insight.
Yeah, so we have partner providers. So we work with compound pharmacies that obviously make the medication, and then each state requires its own set of guidelines as to provider kind of prescriptive mechanisms. But we're primarily it's a psychiatric evaluation into an assessed prescription, which then essentially just goes through the back end regulatory prescriptive requirements in that state and gets fulfilled by a compound pharmacy.
Excellent. Okay, wonderful. And have there been any special, any additional permits or specialities, especially Meg, especially with administering that sort of, ketamine is an anesthetic. Does it have to be like a CRNA who has had specialty in anesthetics before?
I wouldn't be able to answer that entirely, but ideally, a CRNA is most trained in ketamine itself as a medicine.
Right.
Of course,
Okay.
a medical doctor or a PA can administer it, but in regards to the medicine itself, the provider that is trained on that particular medication would be a CRNA.
Sure.
But it can be administered by a medical doctor or a physician's assistant.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you guys maybe share, a positive experience that you've had either, with dealing, with customer or receiving a great piece of customer feedback? Because this is really life-changing stuff for a lot of people. And I mean, we are the business, in changing people's lives. So what sort of, positive, stories do you have to share from, running these sort of businesses?
Yeah, of course. So I can touch on that. I will say group integration is absolutely incredible in this space. I have sat in integration circles in both California clinic and in Florida, and patients sharing their hallucinogenic experiences and the integration that they used to extract the insights and lessons from that, and their way of trauma releasing and what they did to integrate that trauma release, all kind of chiming in and helping each other as a whole, and sharing their infusion experience. It was so beautiful. There would be clients who would say, "Oh, I had that same experience, and I did this, and I had this experience." And so seeing all of these clients come together as a whole in a community and discuss their experiences and how they integrated it, healing each other, but sharing their story as well. And so I think that within itself was a very beautiful and profound experience to be a part of the group integration circles following treatment.
Mark, have you had any, successful stories, good customer feedback that you would care to share?
Yeah, of course. One of the first realizations is, so we're obviously treating a population base primarily that has treatment-resistant depression. So these patients have been through multiple other medications and I suppose medical protocols, and it's by far and away the most impactful kind of work I've ever done in my professional career. And it's we typically the one theme that kind of rings through for me anyway, and that I hear back from our providers and through kind of patient feedback is that people find relief for first time in a long time, and they're able to express themselves more freely. The kind of noise in their head starts to the chatter starts to dim, and so their general quality of life has improved. I mean, some of the individual stories you hear back are just it's hard to believe a lot of times, but people have profound insights and come out of these kind of sessions with that. And obviously everybody's experience is different, but the really positive kind of reviews and patient, it's just incredible. I've never experienced that in my 20 years of prevention and preventative services and processes. There's nothing I've worked on that delivers that kind of experience. But and it's across the board. It's not like we've obviously had patients that have deep PTSD and that are first responders and veterans and through to just general kind of lifestyle stress and more kind of modern, I suppose, depressive and anxiety inducing episodes like lifestyle imbalance or like just overexposure to negativity, press or whatever. There's just such a vast array of reasons that people seek out this treatment, but yeah, it's pretty impactful.
Yeah, and to touch on that, one of what makes this treatment so beautiful is that it's not just that experience itself, the session itself. It's 24 hours post-session, 48 hours post-session. It's the hallucinogenic effects, the disassociation, that experience itself. And then what are you doing the next day when the neuroplasticity is occurring? How are you utilizing your brain when it's in this state of learning? And what practices or habits are you introducing into your life to make those other thought processes go doormat? So it's so many aspects to ketamine therapy. It's not just the session itself.
Right.
It's a lot of it is what happens outside of that session. And I think that is a common misconception in regards to this treatment, that the ketamine will just heal. It's a lot of it is what you're doing with what you gain from that experience and how are you applying it to your life. So very cool.
And just to layer on that, Meg, because that for me, that's kind of the most important aspect of this, is that I personally never got into this as medication for the sake of medication. It's in my mind is medication in the context of other services and other treatments, and using this window of neuroplasticity to induce more positive habits and like the sister company that we kind of developed this in tandem with is an at-home blood testing and lifestyle modification kind of business, and essentially we're layering these practices into the ketamine therapy practice, which is, while you are experiencing this window of neuroplasticity, why not try and look at your body-mind approach to how you can make small changes that can really improve quality of life more dramatically long term.
Of course.
That's excellent. That's very insightful. Thank you. One other question that I have what sort of challenges have the two of you faced in the industry so far? Whether it be operational or legislative, compliance challenges, they run the gambit, especially for any industry. But what have you seen, seeing that both of you have, taken multiple approaches to this?
I would say, from a marketing perspective, ketamine is banned on multiple, from Google. Google does flag it, social media. So it is hard to, I guess, market because of the stigma surrounding ketamine. So that's a challenge that I personally have faced, and especially because one of my passions is creating educational content to help patients prepare and educate them during treatment and after. And so having that ban really limits the exposure that a lot of these educational resources can achieve. So yeah, that's something that I've experienced that has had an impact.
Yeah, just I suppose to add to that, this whole space, the fact that ketamine therapy and the broader kind of psychedelic category is just so visceral for people. That, like, every article, will have equal parts. Here's this incredible kind of success story, plus here's kind of the downsides. Without really getting into the weeds on the kind of clinical applications, and it's easy to jump to conclusions as to what the dark side of psychedelics can be and why they've been banned for so long, and ketamine specifically. There are many drugs that are misused, and to get somebody that has not had firsthand kind of clinical experience, or has not had firsthand direct patient kind of experience, it's a big gap to get them through that, through, I suppose, the understanding gap, or the belief gap that there is a medical application for these concepts. And this is a very real area of medicine, and a very progressive kind of area that if you just took clinical outcomes in isolation, there'd be absolutely no arguments. But obviously everything is nuanced and everything is gray, and there's innuendo behind a lot of these conversations. So that's definitely been the most kind of difficult thing for us to navigate.
Yeah, and I will add to that in regards to this stigma as well. Based on my experience, a lot of patients one of the first things they'll say is, I don't want a bad trip. I don't want to lose control. And very important to re-script that because there's no such thing as a bad trip when done therapeutically. Therapeutic ketamine, a bad trip is a challenging experience. And that's what we want, those experiences, because ultimately it's a trauma release. We welcome those challenging infusions, but it's not a bad trip. It's just trauma that may need to come out. It may be positive, it may be challenging, but it's not a bad trip or being out of control when done the correct way and under supervision. It's all comes down to the support provided for these quote unquote challenging experiences. So done the right way, support is provided for when that were to arise. But no bad trip, challenging experience, and we welcome those. it's good work.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there has been a very ever-changing and both polarizing public and media response to ketamine, and I'm really glad that we are now evolving that it is a current public issue that needs to be addressed. And if anybody else out there in our audience has a question or a comment that you would like to see us discuss, please let us know. We do have a little bit more time towards the end. And if that's it, I just want to see, you both have been heavily involved in this industry. Aside from the media response, do you see any other current issues or hurdles that you may or may not want to see repeated from the past, and hopefully where you want to see ketamine happen for the future?
I think just personally, one of the clarity around the regulatory environments would be very helpful. They've obviously proposed a couple of suggested kind of go forward plans with the Ryan-Haight Act and other regulatory kind of key decisions around controlled substances and telehealth. And so I think that the sooner that clarity is provided around the regulatory environment, the easier it is for everybody to move forward in this space.
Mm-hmm.
Meg, is there anything else you want to share?
Yeah. One thing I think is important to stress is the focus on ketamine company staffing and employees. The support that should be provided for employees and extensive training. Ultimately, the staff is who is sitting with patients during these experiences, communicating with them during these experiences, and employees having proper training, extensive training, even weekly check-ins is essential. That will raise the industry standards as a whole. Because things such as countertransference and other aspects of employees and patient communication, I just think the importance of mental health of employees that are working in this space is addressed, and they are supported. I think a ketamine company is only as strong as the support given to their lowest paid employee. Very, very important there. Very important.
I think those have been some very important and insightful comments, especially when it comes to operating in this industry. And of course, with any business does come, risks, whether they be the professional risks or the liability risks or your employees' risks or the employer's risks. We have the availability to provide the coverage for individuals like you and the professionals that you work with to really provide this life-saving treatment, to the patient and to the end user. It's amazing to see that we've really come a long way to make it all happen. Mm-hmm. And I just want to take the opportunity now to welcome any more questions or comments from the audience. We will keep the window open for a little bit more. Other than that, I just want to really thank the both of you for taking your time out of your day to sit down with me and discuss about launching and protecting your ketamine practice. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah,
our pleasure. Thank you, David. We're happy to be here.
You're very welcome. If there's anything else, any more comments? No questions. I don't see that we have any questions. Well, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who attended, and I hope they have a very wonderful day. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.